Welcome to Channel. The ocean is shifting, and beneath its surface, the balance of power is being redrawn. From the icy depth of the Arctic to the bustling shipyards of South Korea, a quiet race is underway, one that could define Canada's place in the world for generations to come. In recent months, global headlines have turned their gaze northward. Tensions are rising in the Indo-Pacific, alliances are forming and fracturing, and new technologies are emerging beneath the waves. This isn't some distant storm. It's a test of how a middle power like Canada responds when history begins to move again. At the center of this moment stands Prime Minister Mark Carney. Once a calm and analytical figure in the world of central banking, Carney now finds himself navigating the unpredictable currents of geopolitics. Under his leadership, Canada is making bold moves that would have seemed impossible a decade ago, rebuilding a long-neglected defense industry, forging new partnerships across Asia, and staking its claim to the Arctic's future. In October 2025, Carney arrived in South Korea as part of a broader Indo-Pacific mission. Cameras followed as he toured Hana Ocean's sprawling shipyards in Geoge, a labyrinth of steel, scaffolding, and towering cranes capable of building some of the world's most advanced submarines. The visit wasn't ceremonial. It was strategic. It marked Canada's most serious step, yet toward replacing its aging Victoria-class submarines, some of which have been in service since the 1990s. For decades, the idea of a modern Canadian submarine fleet felt unrealistic. The country's defense debates often focus on peacekeeping missions or procurement delays, not deep-sea deterrence. But the world has changed. The Arctic is melting faster than anyone expected, opening new shipping lanes that nations are rushing to control. Russian and Chinese naval activity has expanded into northern waters, and with Washington urging allies to shoulder more of their own defense, Canada could no longer afford to sit quietly on the sidelines. So, in 2025, Carney's government accelerated the Canadian Patrol Submarine Project, a multi-billion-dollar initiative to develop up to a dozen next-generation submarines built to operate in the harshest conditions on Earth. These aren't just machines of defense. They're symbols of national resolve. Enter Hana Ocean, a company that has become a global leader in shipbuilding innovation. Its diesel-electric and air-independent propulsion systems have impressed navies from Europe to Asia. Carney's visit was more than inspection. It was intention. Canada was signaling that it's ready to reach beyond its traditional comfort zone, beyond the familiar corridors of Washington and London, to secure the technologies and partnerships that will define its strategic independence. The deal, whichever partner Canada ultimately selects, will shape its defense posture for half a century. Submarines are the quiet currency of global power. They protect coastlines, shadow adversaries, and safeguard national secrets. For a country with the longest coastline on Earth, a modern submarine fleet isn't luxury. It's survival. But Carney's trip to Asia wasn't just about submarines. It was part of a broader pivot, a recognition that the Indo-Pacific is no longer a distant arena, but the center of the 21st century. In Seoul, Carney met with President Lee Jae-yong to discuss defense, trade, and energy cooperation. The two leaders spoke about shared values, democracies that innovate, trade fairly, and balance prosperity with peace. The world order that once seemed permanent, the post-war system anchored by American leadership, is shifting. Protectionism, technological rivalry, and regional power blocks are reshaping the global stage. Carney's answer is what he calls friendship diversification. Respect Washington, but never depend solely on it. Deepen ties with allies like Japan, South Korea, Singapore, and Australia. Build new bridges without burning the old ones. It's a delicate balance between the United States, Canada's most important ally, and a rising Asia that represents a future of global trade and innovation. For Canada, it's a strategy that promises both economic opportunity and political autonomy. Back home, this transformation is already visible. Carney's government has pledged to meet NATO's defense spending target of 2% of GDP 5 years ahead of schedule, a move that stunned critics who long accused Canada of underinvesting in its own security. Billions are now being funneled into Arctic surveillance, cyber defense, and shipbuilding. New programs are linking Canadian universities, tech startups, and defense contractors to create an ecosystem of innovation that blends military technology with civilian industry. Carney often says security and prosperity